What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. This is gonna be a brand new series, as far as I know, and yeah, I guess we're gonna try to do these dailies, and yeah, I'll see where this goes, and yeah, so this is gonna be a brand new. So it's gonna be called breaking down the daily verse of the day, or verse breakdown of the day, whichever sounds better would be cool. And for today's verse, we have: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. And yep, here we go. All right, guys, a little janky. I got this whole setup, so I'm breaking it down, right? Like I said, today's verse is the fear of the Lord. Read it with me, guys. Pretend we're like in a kindergarten class. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. And I kind of broke down every word that kind of sticked out to me for this verse. And when we're talking about, I think in this verse, when we're talking about the fear of the Lord, and just for context, I'm writing this down based on my own understanding of it. And it's one of those things that I'll disclose, so I'm not sure if I'm like right or wrong. But if you agree with it, disagree with it, feel free to chime in the comment section. But I think the fear in this case, it doesn't mean like, oh, you need to be like, it's like being in this case, I don't think it's like, oh, scared of the Lord, as in like always having to walk on eggshell. I think usually when I associate the word fear, it's like walking on eggshells, not knowing a certain things happening. But I think in this case, it's saying that it's the respect, right? Respecting the consequence and the boundary of the Lord, right? The way the Lord wants you to live out your life, right? If you don't respect that, right, there are going to be consequences, right? Hence the fear of the Lord. When you respect and understand and obey the way he wants you to live, right, knowing the consequences and the boundary, that is when it's the beginning, right? It's the beginning of wisdom, right? And up here I wrote down wisdom, right? Wisdom is the ability to make the decision, right? To apply the knowledge, right, with sound judgment, right, based on experiences and insight. And that means that wisdom can be obtained through tryouts and errors. And that means sometimes we make the wrong decision, and then okay, and we self and introspect, like, okay, oh, if when I do this happens, maybe it's not such a good idea to do this, right, through experiences, right, we gain wisdom. And then the second part of this verse is, and knowledge and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding, right? If you think about it, right, the word knowledge and understanding, they go hand to hand, right? Having knowledge is having understanding, right? Information in this case. And in this case, knowledge means the how do I explain knowledge? Knowledge is information, right? Okay. So you know how earlier I was talking about, like, when you make a bad decision, right? Under not in wisdom, when you make a bad decision, you'll know, like, a bad effect, right? And having knowledge is that to know a certain decision gives a bad effect, which leads to a bad consequence, right? Vice versa, a good decision. I don't know why I try to avoid these like good and bad decisions. A good decision nets you a good decision. A good decision nets you a good consequence, right? And that the knowing what a certain decision nets you, knowing the decision that nets you the outcome, that itself, right, knowing that is the knowledge part, which is the information part. And also over here, I highlighted, I think I interconnected the fear of the Lord and also Holy One. So the Holy One is, in this case, it's living. Oh, sorry, I didn't write. I just wrote. It's supposed to be like this. Holy One in this case means when you live in accordance to the Lord. I mean, that means the way the Lord wants you to live. Guys, yeah, I hope this makes sense. And I wrote down poop here because I was gonna use the example of this is gonna sound very I don't know, cringe or TMI, but for me personally, when I don't eat enough fiber or veggies, I have a hard time dropping off the kids at the pool. Okay, so that in itself is a knowledge, right? And that's knowledge I get from um yeah, that itself is a knowledge, and that's knowledge I got from making the decision, right? Of the days when I don't get enough veggies in me, I have a hard time, pooping in the restroom. And then I was like, you know what? The days I do get enough veggies in me, I have a easier time, going to the restroom. All right, guys, I hope this makes sense. This verse came from Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10. And for those of you who never read Proverbs before, I think, to me, it's the ultimate self-help book. And that means that in the beginning of my journey, before I came to Christ, I've read a lot of self-help books. But when I became when I was saved and became a Christian, the very first book that I was recommended to read, because I like my knowledge. It's like the things that I get to apply on a day to day. It makes me wiser. I've always read the Proverbs. It's a great book. If you have never read it, I highly suggest you to take a hack at it, if that makes sense. But until then, I'll see you guys on the next video. Okay, mwah.